the recording is going, and it being 7:02 is what I have. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the John Germain Memorial Library Board of Trustees. Here we go. Period for public expression. Okay. Let's look at the minutes from February 12th of 2025. Do I have any
I'll make a
questions
motion to
or
approve
discussion?
them.
Motion to approve?
I'll
Second?
second.
Second, so the minutes are approved.
No,
No.
We have to vote. Let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now,
Abstain.
minutes are approved.
You're abstaining?
Yeah, because I wasn't here for last.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay. You actually don't have to abstain. Like, there is that idea that you can do whatever you want to do, but you actually don't have to, because you're just approving that you believe that they were written correctly. But I know you wouldn't know, but you don't. Long story short, as Robert's Rules of Order, you don't actually have to abstain if you don't want to. I'm just being a nerdy know-it-all.
Okay,
but they could have.
Carry on.
listened to
I
it
abstain.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
so with one abstention.
Two.
two,
Two.
okay.
Can we have a report from the Friends of the Library?
Sure. So the Friends changed their meeting date. They met on Wednesday of last week. They're excited about their new meeting day, I suppose. They continued their conversation of what is it that we should do as a fundraiser, because if you remember, last time they met, we had sort of a long conversation of they realized that the people who are supporting their fundraisers are in fact them. They don't get a lot of not friends supporting their fundraisers. So they're talking about doing something that another library does very far up island, I think in Nassau, where it's just like a series of lunches. So it's more of a social thing. So it's not a huge moneymaker, but it's like, hey, we're gonna get together, we're all gonna go to lunch, and then, you know, like whatever the ticket price is for lunch, if it's like $40 a head, then they'll charge $50, and then $10 goes to the library. And it's sort of the idea of it being recruitment, but also just an easier lift in terms of a fundraiser. They also, we talked a lot about library advocacy and the importance of advocating for libraries right now, and that it is New York State budget season, and to make sure that you are reaching out to your senator and your assembly person and saying like, hey, don't forget about libraries. So that was really interesting. The Friends were really jazzed about library advocacy on a state and federal level, which was fun. So I emailed them a lot of information after the fact. And then the Friends had given us a check for $5,000 at the end of last year, January-ish, I think it's when end of last year. And so some of the money that we that was donated by the Friends, we are using towards being part of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is why Dolly is with us tonight. In spirit and in cutout. And so we're kicking that off with very little fanfare or kickoff. We've already had 2 or 3.
I think we might be up to 5
Ooh,
now.
we've had 5 people sign up. And that is sort of sponsored by the Friends. One of the things the Friends wanted was something that they could put their name on and point to very easily, that maybe would also reach out to families, because again, the Friends have a particular demographic that they're consistently hitting, and they'd really like to branch out. So the Friends are very excited about the Imagination Library and wanted to give.
A good connection.
It is a good
Good
connection.
brand.
Yeah, and so when the books come in the mail to the kids, it actually says from the Friends of the John Germain Library, right?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I don't know if we set that up at the beginning, because we didn't know that the Friends were supporting.
All right, so,
When we first set it
I
up.
like that.
all right,
I might be able to edit it though.
perfect, thank you. So it's one of those things that would be like, this is sponsored by the Friends, and the Friends feel good, and people get excited, everybody loves Dolly. She's been outside of my office for the last 2 days, and people come up and take pictures of her, and I'm like, do you want to be in the picture? And they're like, no. Do you want me in the picture? So that's what's going on with the Friends. Afterwards, we can all take a picture with Dolly.
Great. She could be in front.
So that is the report from the Friends.
That's right.
Did we thank the Friends for the gift?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I sent them a letter.
thank you.
We are going to, at some point, probably during the summer, when we have peak Friend attendance at meetings, because everybody's still sort of here or south. We're gonna do a big check photo. So,
Check photo.
Oh, that's
nice.
so. That's all.
Okay,
Well, Dolly can be there.
well, as you all know from the emails you've been getting, we are about to start spending a great deal of money. So I think it's a good time for our treasurer's report and see how things stand. Megan?
Okay. We are in great shape. I'll do this pretty fast because I know we have a lot to cover tonight. You can see the operating accounts, Morgan Stanley, our savings account and our investments continue to go up. Well, in terms of financial activity, a significant payment to the Suffolk County Library for digital books hit this month, which seems to be a perennial charge. In February of 24, there was a comparable charge in that amount, so that's like 70%, 60, yeah, but almost 70% of the digital books budget. And then the other item of note is we received the second check of 2025 from the school district of $676,181. And that includes $964 in pilot payments, which we had to identify as per law / Kelly, so there it is. So we've received almost 50% of our budgeted tax revenue for the year. And our expenditures are right on point. We're just under 16%, and yeah, nothing to beyond the CLS charge, nothing outstanding, pretty typical payrolls. And I believe those are the highlights. So we're in good shape as we head into spending
Spending season.
a lot of money.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, pilots are payments in lieu of taxes, so like LIPA they're not LIPA anymore, sorry. I rode my DeLorean back from system today. PSE&G,
Yeah.
like, instead of paying taxes, paid a pilot. And those go to the school district and the library and are split up, so that's actually,
Okay, are there any questions for Megan, comments and concern? If not, then I guess I would look for a motion to approve not just the financial treasurer's report, but the warrant and the payroll warrants as they're outlined here. Somebody want to make a motion to that?
I'll make a motion to pass the treasurer's report and the warrants as outlined here there.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
can we please vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay,
Thank you.
so that takes care of that. Thank you, Megan. That was great. Okay, you're up. The
Okay.
director's report.
all right. So Randall Lombardi has joined the team, and he's acclimating to his new environment nicely. We love that he keeps a bowl of lifesavers on his desk, and I don't think he realized how quickly he would be going through lifesavers, because every time a staff member walks by, we're like, but we're happy to have him. He's pulled down the winter decorations, so we've decorated for spring, and he's doing some weeding, getting used to everyone, so we're very excited about that. We're moving forward on our HVAC project. I'm not going to talk about it too much here because we're going to talk about it later. I'm very excited to report that Hayground School is collaborating with us on our Sag Harbor Grows Seed Library this year. So Mark Antonio and the students from Hayground have been instrumental in alphabetizing and categorizing our seeds. And they're actually sharing Hayground seeds with us. So we will have a collection of seeds that were harvested from Hayground, which will be part of the collection. And we have a little bespoke Sag Harbor Grows sticker that has Hayground on it as well. So you'll know you have your Hayground seeds. They'll be back here on Friday. The library directors hosted the assemblyman from the New York Assembly District 1 a couple of weeks ago. We're looking forward to working with him in the future. Let's see, the future, of course, being that Friday, where we were able to let him use this space with a bunch of other important people to talk about CPF.
Rent free.
Rent-free, that's right.
Good.
It's tax dollars at work.
Good.
I did a presentation for Lilrec with a colleague of mine, Vic Caputo, on unintended barriers to library service via Zoom. Apparently it's a very big topic because we had over 140 people register for it, which I think is hysterically funny because there's no way 140 people want to listen to me talk for 2 hours. And then usually they were saying with LOREC, if like 140 people register, they usually get about 65 or 70 people in actual attendance. We had over 100 people in attendance and they actually stuck with us till the end of the program.
Maybe
So
they did want to listen to you.
maybe they did want to listen to me. You know, I tell good stories.
What's the highlight from that event?
From that event,
Yeah.
I think the highlight is it's really about like just being hyper aware that there's 1,000 little things that we do that prevent us from providing excellent library service. And a lot of it is just a reminder like, hey, you know, like if somebody asks you where a book is, like get up and take them to the book. Don't just like scrawl the number on a piece of paper and hand it away. So things as small as that, but then also to sort of like be aware of the other things that you may be doing, which are preventing people from using your library, whether that's, like, if you are in a historic building, right? So this is a big thing that pops up. You're in a historic building, so you're sort of grandfathered in, so you don't maybe have to have the most ADA accessible entrance ever. Like, yeah, it's great that you can have your historic cobblestones, but that's not the easiest thing to walk on or use if you're in a wheelchair or you have a walker or one of those little like skateboardy things, or even if you're just unsteady on your feet. So just thinking about the library on all different levels and how you can provide the best customer service possible. And then let's see what else. We're very excited because everybody's enjoying the puzzle table, our new water fountain, and our propagation station, which is on the window over here. We're currently giving out little baby pothoses, and we'll have some succulents soon. And we are inching towards our Sustainable Library Initiative certification. We actually have the fellow coming to check over the building with regards to the energy audit on Friday. And when the policy committee meets, we're going to be talking about sustainable policies, which we need to adopt, and then everything sort of falls into place after that. The other thing I did want to mention is Al Coster is just about done with the audits. He sent the adjusting journal entries to Wanda to put in. He sent me the variances, which I went over and explained and sent back to him. So we should be wrapping up that audit pretty quickly after tax season is completed. And that's really, that's all I got. I did send out a new personnel report this afternoon. I hope you all got a chance to read it. And then also statistics, something that I forgot to print, but I will have a copy for you all next month is, since the annual report is complete, I did do our community infographic about library usage and stuff, so I'll get you all a copy of that for next month. But we're plugging along, we're excited, we're happy to be here.
Can I just ask, across the top on the statistics page where it says type, and then we have years, and then January 2024, I'm trying to figure out,
That should be January of 25.
okay,
It was December of 2024 last month,
okay.
so that's just, you know.
She keeps printing old statistics
Also,
pages.
That's right.
Probably COVID-19 pandemic things, since those statistics don't reflect anymore either.
They don't, that's true.
Hmm.
I can take that off.
You can take those off. Is Al coming to present?
Al generally, we've had Al each year come to present. He's done the last 2 years. I can certainly, once again, he can present to the board as a whole, if that is what the board would like. Historically, before I got here, the auditor would present to the finance committee and the finance committee would make the recommendation to the board. Al will do whatever we want him to do. I personally like when he presents to the entire board. Because I think it's important for everyone to hear it, and for those of us who maybe look at the financials and get sweaty and, you know, don't really love looking at them or truly understanding how granular some of those reports can get. It's a good opportunity for you to ask him questions. And he does a great job of explaining it, so.
Can he do it by Zoom? If it's inconvenient for him, or does he mind?
He doesn't mind.
In person? Okay.
Part of our, he knows he's got to come out one way or the other, so whether he comes out just to meet with the finance committee or he drives out for our board meeting, it's part of the package.
All right, good.
I
So do
personally
we
would
want,
like to see him meet with the whole board,
Okay.
is my feeling. What others feel?
Well, I think it's, you have the whole word.
Good last one.
so,
When does that happen?
it probably May or June.
Okay,
I need a motion to approve the personnel report.
may we have a motion? to
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report.
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor, please?
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion passes. It's time to look at committee reports. Do we have some? Let's start with personnel.
Personnel committee did in fact meet last week. We had a very constructive discussion. Although I don't know how much of the discussion we can actually reveal.
Discuss in public.
Yeah, exactly, yeah,
It has to be executive session.
yes.
Are there issues that you think are important enough for the board that we should have an executive session?
I don't. Depends how much is gonna be on old business with regard to the report that you had circulated this afternoon.
Nothing, like the report that I shared this afternoon is really it. There's nothing really else to
Right.
discuss.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything to
Okay.
report at this particular time.
Okay,
I think the personnel committee will make a recommendation and we'll act on that at the next meeting.
okay,
Sounds so
That sounds
serious.
How do you like that?
sounds good. Finance,
Finance did meet extensively and over email. But I don't know how much you want me to report on that now, or if we're gonna cover some of that in, like,
Yes.
in
New business.
new business, or,
In new business, we just have to, and I didn't put a star there, I don't know why you guys keep me around. New business, we really just have to pass a resolution, naming everybody on the account.
okay, so yeah, we did meet, looking ahead at the HVAC and the flow of funds that are gonna be required, and trying to get as much information as Kelly could ahead of time, which wasn't much because it's all kind of on a rollout, but I mean, our funds are in really good shape and we're just trying to keep the appropriate amount of funds, liquid and accessible as we need them. We reviewed the T-bill ladder as it stands right now and made some decisions about, one of the T-bills which came due today, tomorrow. And we're going to be, doing some things with that money that's gonna help, make it available when we need to pay for the unit itself. We've also decided to change, to sort of reassign the accounts. First National is gonna act as more of our capital account where we're gonna pay for the HVAC as opposed to Morgan Stanley. We're gonna treat Morgan Stanley more just like the investment account that it is. There are a couple of reasons for that, but one of them is Morgan Stanley won't collateralize over a certain amount, and First National will. So that made more sense to us.
And the interest rate at Morgan Stanley.
Right,
So the interest rate at Morgan Stanley right now is 4%. And so Morgan Stanley, you sort of think of them more as like an investment bank
mhm,
as opposed to like a dime where it's
Right.
constant, like money in and out and out and in.
right,
So we're basically going to up the amount of money that is in that Morgan Stanley account. We can keep up to $500,000 in there. And it'll be protected under FDIC.
mhm,
So we're gonna raise that amount to 475,000. Yes. The zeros just in my brain.
yeah,
So that we have enough money to collect interest, but we're maximizing how much we can collect interest on. We're gonna move some of the money into First National in order for us to pay for the HVAC equipment, which is coming due in April. And then reinvest some money into the bond ladder to maintain the bond ladder as well. Knowing that come May, we have another like baby rung, if you will, on the ladder, which was just sort of like put in there. Knowing that we would need to liquidate that fairly quickly. So it was really just a spot to park some money and make some money on it before we had to liquidate it to pay for the HVAC.
I think the point is, for the board as a whole, is that we have more than adequate funds for everything we're facing. And we have it in many different pots, so we will move it around as best we can to maximize earnings in the meantime, as we're spending the money out. But I think it's in good shape.
that baby T-bill is actually in April,
It's in a,
and then we have another T-bill in May.
Big one.
yes,
big one,
that is
Yeah.
true.
So everything's getting staggered.
Yeah, and then we'll have September and November, and we talked about, after we have more of a sense of the cash flow for the project, and we could take a look at the ladder and maybe
Mhm.
even some amounts out so that we're looking at a more even distribution throughout the year of T-bills when they come due.
Yes.
And accessibility to that. But yeah, it was, yeah, I think everyone ended up feeling good about what we were doing and how we were doing it, so.
Yeah.
Are there any questions that anybody has about this area? For me? Okay. Buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds
Yeah.
met to discuss what's going on with the HVAC and the thing that we'll discuss in the whole business. We also talked about the next things that we want to work on getting is updating the things here in the program room, like a new projector and some smart boards. And
And the rack, which is the
Rack.
AV rack.
the AV rack and that kind of stuff is the next sort of project to get into. And podium, yeah, I knew it. And the other thing is we want to update the podium that we use, make something a little more ADA compliant, a little nicer looking.
I found a podium. It's called the Counselor.
Oh,
Is it
named
neon?
after Michael?
It is not
Really?
neon, it is oak. They will laser engrave our logo and our name on it. It has wheels, it goes up and it goes down for ADA compliance. We can look at the Counselor, I can show it to you later.
Does it have tusks?
It does not have tusks.
Bells, whistles.
It
But
doesn't, no, but.
You can
I'll
plug it
give you a
in
whistle.
and it has
Yes, you can
microphone
plug it in and it
accessible,
has the
AV
microphone.
accessible and. all
We
that.
can get a cover for it, so it's well protected. It's the counselor.
Classic,
That's
It's
building,
very classic.
that's
It's the
buildings and grounds.
counselor.
the counselor.
That's it?
It's it.
Okay.
Says
Did
it
you
when you're
order
picking a
it
casket.
already?
No, it's sitting in my cart on my desktop upstairs.
Cause I do wanna mention, that I found a couple of people who could make something, artisans in the community. I'm sure it won't be, the same price point as what you found, but, if we wanted it to be something more, I don't know, just a thought.
They were receptive to the idea.
Oh, well, there's one gentleman who's actually a liturgical furniture maker in the community. And then another person who is an architect, furniture designer in North Haven, so just a couple of options, I mean. Yeah.
Good to have options.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to report.
Hmm?
I don't have anything else to report.
Okay, all right. Policy, long-range planning,
We did not meet. this
did not
We
meet.
were meeting next
week.
week.
We're meeting next week.
Okay. Outreach, public relations,
On Wednesday, next
Yeah.
Wednesday.
I think it's next week.
oh, next week, okay.
Yeah.
And Master Shmuel, you're back on again.
Yes, I am. So the meeting was last week. They've had their unofficial field opening for the school for their practices. Officially opening on Monday, the 17th. So now all the fields are open for practice. They have taken all the equipment for the winter, or they've set it aside, they've taken all the summer equipment, they're getting ready and prepping for all that. They've moved their equipment out. They're going to fix the backstop up. And they have one of their Osprey nets is up and ready. And they moved the infield in field 3 to 90 feet. Didn't understand, well, I don't know, I'm just repeating it, I don't know.
What was it?
I don't know.
We don't know.
They
Okay.
just said
Not
90
90
feet.
It was 60 feet. It was a little league field, so they
Okay.
changed it now to. Almost a
And
big
that's
field.
what I was.
Not some little
Yes.
league field, yeah.
A medium.
Yeah, they're moving up.
So there's a question about who owns what. So. If they wanna put a roundabout in the middle there. Problem is the county or the town is saying they own up to the beginning, the gas station side. And somebody else says they own all the way through to the other side, so what happens there is going to be based on who ultimately takes over and says it's my responsibility. So the answer to your question is they're still talking.
Oh, I know.
But it's all about who owns the center of Germain, the Germain intersection there.
So it's either the county or the.
Or the village.
Or the village,
Oh,
yeah.
village, okay.
Exactly.
And nobody wants to be responsible for it because it costs money.
Well, that's kind of it. It's like, if the county owns all the way, then they'll be responsible for doing the roundabout. If the village owns it, then the village is like, well, maybe we'll just leave it the way it is.
Right.
Oh,
Thanks.
Okay,
That's it.
Okay.
that's it. Time for
HVAC?
old business.
All right. So. The HVAC, so the emergency heat is officially off. They will be collecting those heaters, before April 9th, which is when this most recent month is done with. In terms of rentals, I have to call and ask, the electricians to unelectrify them, because they tied them all in, so they have to untie them all. We had the well guys come out to repair the pump, and the well. As it turns out, when they pulled it, they got good water pressure, the pump was not a problem. I spoke with the back, got Enron this morning, they're still pretty convinced the check valve on, there was something awry with the check valve on the pump. It very much could have had gook in it, and when they pulled the plump, you know, like the gook got free. But everybody's like, well, if everything's working, we can't tell you why it wasn't working and why it's not working now, but like, so everybody's decided we're just gonna cross our fingers. Until we get through the HVAC project. Right now, we have one compressor that is kaput in HP3. But when I talked to when I conference called with the gentleman from Enron this morning in my car on the way here, they did say if we need 3 to pick up some heating instead of 1 and 2, lead, lagging, cool, they can tie 2 into 3 to sort of assist with the heat, but we're coming into the spring and the summer, so we probably won't need to do that. I spoke with, Tiffany. She's going to review our application to the building department for our permits before they go through. I actually also said, well, if you're gonna review them, can you just do them for us? And she said, I can also be the person who cans them in for you. So there's that. I met with, well, let me back this up, because Buildings and Grounds knows this, but I don't know if everybody does. In order to move the project along quickly and get most of it done before the summer, the scary stuff before summer, right? So when I say the scary stuff, I mean like get the cement pad down, get the unit onto the pad, and then tie it in. So like all of the stuff that's disruptive is not, you know, like 4th of July weekend. I spoke with John McCauley, who's our consultant, and he said, hey, we can actually hire Belfour off of the state Omnia contract. And does everybody know what a state contract is, or do you want me to explain it?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so basically what a state contract is, and there's county contracts, and what the state contract basically does is it says, this is what you're looking for, you need a general contractor, great. We have already vetted these 5, 6, 12 companies. This is the you know, like they will give you a reasonable price. They are able to do the work successfully. We've already vetted them for you. So instead of us taking, you know, a month to find 3 general contractors, vet them, pick one, then have that general contractor pull in their subs. It just shortens the process.
They're pre-qualified.
They're pre-qualified. So what Belfour is doing now, they just sent out the RFP for the mechanicals, and the electric. So that went out, not today, I feel like it went out yesterday. And so they came out today, Belfour came out today, and John McCauley, because they just wanted to make sure that what our as-built say, our as it's built is the case, which of course it is not. So like, if you look at all our plans, it says the gas goes one way, it doesn't actually go that way. It's actually a direct shot into the building, which is fine. It's just not where it says it is. And so when we're gonna be doing site work and excavating and things of that nature to put the thing in, they just wanna make sure like the grading is correct. And then also that everything is where it says that it is. You know, like the electrical, you know, claimed to be 3 feet down. It's not 3 feet down, it's 18 inches down, right?
Why wouldn't it be what it,
Where it's at,
Yeah.
because things happen all the time
yeah,
with building projects where they move things. And then they just
They
never
don't
correct
So
it.
will they
They don't
update those
update the
plans?
surveys.
So we will now have a new baseline. So
Yes.
in the future, anybody who's looking at this, we know
Yeah.
exactly where everything is
Yes.
and it's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So they came out, they went over a couple of things, they looked at the plans. They went back to Lizardo's, that's in my email, to say, hey, we just need a couple of other things. We did also find when we were looking on the plans, everything says wood, except there's one spot where it says PVC fence, so we just need to swap out that PVC for wood. So like the title says PVC fence, but everything about it says wood, so just like a typographical error. As an aside, we were at this meeting earlier this afternoon. And Jenny Bloom, who's the director at the Port Jeff Library, just finished a building project with Belfour, and she was like, they were great, they were so wonderful, so that's nice. So once the quotes come back to Belfour, they'll be able to share with us, like, these are the 3 people we went with, these are the ones we recommend, this, you know, they'll be able to share all that information with us. Macaulay, and I said, don't tell me I don't believe you. I want to believe you in my heart, but I don't believe you. He believes that we will have basically a contract with, you know, knowing who all our subs are, everything ready and set to sign at the April board meeting. And then as long as we have our permits, we should be able to start the site work like May 1st.
Kelly, when we had our buildings and ground, there was a discussion about possibly making a change with regard to the control system.
Yes, so that's my next part.
Okay,
So, we had, a fellow. Bruce, Brad, it's a BR name. Come out from CIS, who does controls for a lot of libraries. To look at our system. He's the person that Macaulay was like, this is the guy I would bring in, he's my favorite. To sort of look at the system, give us a price, see what he thinks. He actually said our system's like in pretty good shape, but you know, could use some updates and a couple of tweaks. So,
so we didn't think it was gonna be like a wholesale.
and yeah, it's not gonna be like a whole, there's nothing proprietary in our building controls wise that would require us to pull everything out and put something new in, if that makes sense.
Okay,
You know, it's all Honeywell, right? So a lot of people have that in their house. So we met with the controls guy today. He's gonna come back with some information for us. He was very nice. He was also tall enough to reach the hook to get us on the roof. And he didn't ding the ladder into the ceiling. So we were like, look, he's already got a job. It's just to stand here and pull the roof patch down. So I think that's sort of where we are at the moment. We're progressing. It seems like we're not, but we are. It's just a lot of this person has to do this, this person has to do this. Rayner Group is going to get us the updated site plan by the end of the month, which is next week already. Which is probably why I said it was the bond was coming due in April, because I just like to believe that it's April now. I've given up on March as a month. And so I think that's everything HVAC related. Does everybody feel good? Do we have questions? Yes.
Did you cover the delivery date? Is there any?
Okay, so with regards to the delivery dates, they did want to ship and deliver the equipment early. And Macaulay basically told them. No. I was gonna say shut up, but that's not what he said. It might be what he said, but I don't want to put those words in his mouth, but he said, no, you told us April 23rd, we are not paying for this or taking delivery of it before April.
So we're not paying for
23rd.
storage?
At this point, no. We may have to pay for some storage, you know, for a couple of weeks, just so that, you know, the site work can be done where it's, you know, graded, dug down a little bit, that cement pad needs to be put down. And sort of that'll be, I believe, but I don't want to misspeak. So don't hold me to it. I believe sort of that storage and delivery of the equipment to our property and onto that pad is going to fall within the review of the mechanicals guys. Like, it's up to them to get that.
Don't you require Union Street being closed off?
Probably. Some of the things that they're, and I don't wanna get too deep in the weeds, but
Yeah.
some of the things that might be an issue are the power lines. So like when you're using a crane, you have to have certain clearances with power lines, so they're like, all right. Well, they're actually thinking they might end up having to do like a ramp and like roll it onto the property. And then each trustee will grab a rope and drag the rest of the way.
Like the pyramid.
Manual labor.
Exactly. So it's linking.
I have to work.
You have to
You
work.
have to work that day. No, you have to work
Can we use the
that day.
bookmobile of some way to like?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bicycle.
Bike, attach it to the bike and pedal.
Dolly will-
So we'll put an orange vest on Dolly that day, like the road close sign and a hat.
Put it out front, that's.
Oh,
So that is, I think, everything HVAC related. Any other questions? You can always email me if you think of something tonight when you should be sleeping, and I will find an answer for you. So that's the HVAC.
But they got it calendared, they know, okay, everything's gonna be in lockstep, so to speak.
Yeah, it's all gonna be.
It will, it behooves us all, right? So like. Village, library, contractors to have all of the hard stuff done. Before school is out. Number one, 'cause nobody wants to drive out here. Number two, nobody wants their, their holiday weekends ruined by. Library nonsense, right? Because traffic's already a mess. And number three, contractors who work on libraries. Are also the same contractors who work in schools, right? So they wanna be they have that very short window to work in schools of like. The day after graduation to, like Labor Day, right? Where they've gotta get the bulk of that stuff done for big school projects. So as long as we can all work together to achieve excellence in HVAC installation, we should be good to go.
So let's
Yeah, as I understand,
consider,
it's like the big pieces in terms of the equipment.
Yeah.
The delivery, the installation, all those big pieces, it's in everybody's interest to get this done before school
Yeah.
ends. Now, they're gonna be however many weeks or months working inside,
Yeah.
cooking everything.
that
up.
I'm not worried, I'm
Yeah.
saying, assume that they're gonna pick the contingencies, that something is gonna get
Yeah.
screwed up.
And here's the thing, if something gets screwed up, the long and short of it is we're like putting an HVAC unit in July.
Okay.
And it is what it is.
But if we can identify what could potentially be those choke
Yeah.
points and plan ahead
Yes,
so that we're not scrambling around at that last minute.
so that's why Belport was out today, right? With like Travis with his shovel, making sure like, all right, it says the gas line is there, that doesn't really make sense. He's like, it very well could be, but nope, it's actually right straight here, right? Because the last thing we want to do sort of, yes, it's tricky to get the unit onto our property. But what can really screw up a project very quickly is when you come in with a piece of heavy equipment, anticipating digging something up, and then you like. Dig up electric, dig up gas, dig up water, like find a leaching pool that wasn't where it should be, so it's just. Make, like, it's a good thing that they came out today to go, okay, this is here, this is here, this is here. That grading doesn't look quite right, it might be what it was supposed to be on the as-built, but it's certainly not what it is now, so. Just making sure that we minimize the room for catastrophe.
I don't even know what they're doing on the turnpike and on Jamaica and everything, but is, someone told me that a foreman told them that they're gonna be working until Memorial Day. I don't know if that's accurate or not. No one's concerned about, I don't know where they're gonna be going and moving and doing things. No one's
So-
concerned about,
They were in front of my house,
yeah.
so I asked. They're putting in power lines underground. They're gonna eventually connect to the wind, the power from the power lines. So they're basically going down the whole length of the turnpike there, and they're going to eventually head towards East Hampton.
Okay,
By
so
what?
Main,
On your main?
114,
Uh,
114.
It's gonna go down to Maine and.
And then go to 114, yeah.
I just didn't know if they're coming into the village more.
No.
The library, where are they?
They want our
Where are they
HVAC.
gonna read
There were
that?
weeks where I had to like basically pull up to my driveway, and there'd be a guy going this way, to get somebody
Yeah.
to let me out, and even now. I got stuck down by the bagel place the other morning because they were unloading a truck
Yeah.
and nobody was moving, and it's like.
Yeah.
It's, so the guy came to my thing to say, hey, we're gonna be blocking your driveway, here's my number if you need any, like, call me if there's any issues.
Sorry, Dan.
It's okay, they're way down now, it was bad for, like, they put a 5-foot trench in front of my driveway, but the nice thing is.
They give you a little piece of plywood to drive over?
No, they helped, I had like a hole in my driveway at the end, they put some stuff there because they were working. And they're done by the time I come back from work, like,
Okay.
they're starting at 7 o'clock, but
Yeah.
they were, I never had any issues getting home.
Dan, don't think of it as a trench, think of it as a moat, and that plywood.
No, it was definitely a trench, it's built in, it got built in the same day.
King of your castle.
And they're protecting the air.
Yeah, like a little piece, a
Oh,
little tiny piece, that whole.
All right.
okay.
All right.
Trustee training.
Trustee training, so I finally heard back from Annalee and Max, they've been a switch busy. With regards to, library advocacy and, things going on that directly affect libraries. They said they can absolutely come out and do the trustee training, but probably not until like late summer, early fall. So like their sweet spot is sort of end of August, beginning of September. If we can hit that sweet September spot, are you all okay with waiting to do your trustee training till September?
I guess so.
Sure.
Okay,
Is
so
this
I
when
will,
we're gonna implement or start talking about implementing the recommendations from the survey and all that other stuff? No.
What is this training?
it's on, libraries, big picture, little picture, advocacy, what's going on with regards to, it should be really interesting come September. What's going on with regards to book challenges, it's really a program on like advocacy, mission, purpose, and scope of libraries. What trustees should be thinking about, what you should be concerned about, how you can best advocate for your library in the community. How you can best advocate for libraries in New York State.
Will we be doing this here? Or?
And we're gonna invite
Okay,
the other
others.
libraries.
Excellent.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a great opportunity, they're great speakers.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like an all-day affair.
No. We'll do a couple hours at night. We'll put them up in Riverhead because it's cheaper and they're closer to home.
Did anyone see Andy Cohen advocate for libraries?
saw
on Watch
that.
What Happens Live?
Yeah,
He's like, since when are libraries the swamp? And then he went on this rant about how wonderful libraries are, and he lives right on Noyak. So I'm assuming he means this library,
yeah, we have never seen him in
Oh,
this
okay.
library,
but he went on about it.
so he did. Yes, it's on, if you follow Nyla on social media, it was in their Instagram stories and their Facebook reels or whatever.
Check it out.
Maybe that's it.
Wait, is anybody going to attend Spring on the Hill? I went last year.
I did.
What's Spring on the Hill?
Spring on the Hill is a program that's put on by Nyla. Elliot and I were just talking about that earlier. I did book 2 rooms. If Elliot can't make it, I said I was gonna bring Wanda, but if one of you want to come instead, you can certainly come. It's really an interesting program. It's really about advocating for libraries. One of the things that I don't know, like I came away with today in this budgeting program that we went to is libraries have in recent history been incredibly underfunded. We're sort of an afterthought. Everybody is very good at saying, oh my gosh, we love libraries so much. Our libraries are great. And then we're like, great, we need more money. And they were like, oh, we had to give it to the schools. We had to give it to the veterans. We had to give it to, every other group but you. And so something that's been a big push in libraries in the last couple of years is more active advocacy and not just like going up to Albany once a year and saying like, hey, we need more money, and then thanking them when they don't give us more money, like, hey, thanks for giving us less money or the same money as you did for the last 5 years. So it's really just how to be a better advocate for libraries, what are the issues in libraries, why libraries matter, why, you know, it does matter when I send out those little email things and I'm like, hey, just fill this out and send it in and send it to everyone. That matters. Like engaging in that way when our legislators get, you know, like 20 letters about library funding, but they get, you know, 1,000 letters about funding schools. Where's the money gonna go, right? Not that schools don't need money too, they absolutely do, but when you look at the scale at which libraries are funded at New York State and what we're asking for, it's really not a heavy lift. So
Yeah,
that's,
well, I encourage everybody that hasn't already to respond to this. I know I did. And I think the next step is, of course, looking to others who we know in the community to have their voices heard, because there's just the 8 of us. Again, so that's the next step. From the thing that we attended today, which was a presentation on behalf of the New York budget, it's obvious that New York is going to be negatively impacted by cuts in Washington, which means that whatever they're planning in New York, they're going to be hard pressed to deliver on that, let alone improve on it. And we are definitely going to hurt to some extent by cuts that are happening at the federal level. It's not so much in our direct operating budget, it's in the activities we share with the Suffolk Library. I mean, this cooperative library system, we're in joint programs with them, and if they're struggling, and then it's gonna be harder for us to provide our people with various important services, like the ebooks, like the thing we put in all this money today for. If that program gets hurt in federal cuts, then that means that either we have to pay more money to get those services for our people, or we can't deliver those services. I mean, that would be the worst case scenario. And that would be terrible if we suddenly were not able to provide ebooks or whatever. So it is a serious situation. So I would encourage everybody to get involved because, you know,
and
it's a real problem.
something that Kevin mentioned today, and I know he's gonna mention it at the directors meeting tomorrow, but there are 2 Republican representatives on the federal level. And one of them is ours. So if you have not written Dick LaLota a letter on behalf of libraries yet, I would encourage you to reach out to his office.
With library week coming up, April, would it be appropriate to do something here to make our patrons aware of these situations and maybe?
So I haven't done it yet, but I was talking to Elliot about it. I do plan to do it. I was kind of hoping that Suffolk Cooperative Library System was working on canned graphics for social media. But certainly, we can post to social media, advocacy efforts, click here to save libraries. Because I think that's the problem is people don't know, right? Like for us, to make it a human example, right? So the cuts on the federal level basically equal a part-time employee to us here. So we had a personnel report, we have 2 part-time employees that are leaving us, like, I'm not replacing them, and not because we don't need them, not because it wouldn't help the library if we had additional people, but I can make do without those individuals, but I will need that money to now fund E-rate. E-rate is something that goes to schools, it goes to libraries, it provides internet to libraries and
Mhm.
schools. That is, something that has been cut by the federal government, right? Internet to, funding for internet to libraries and schools. And so that works out to be, you know, like $6,000 to $8,000 a year for us that I now need to find in the budget. That's my weekend employee who just quit, right? So it's a pocketbook issue, you know what I mean? Like, when it gets cut on the federal level, like, internet is still something we need to provide, right? So now is the state gonna pick up that tab? And if the state picks up that tab, what is the state cutting in order to pay for that, right? And are they pulling it out of library funding? Because it's internet for libraries, right? Cool beans. If they're not gonna pick up that tab locally, you've gotta pick up that tab. So it's really, libraries are nonpartisan, as Andy Cohen said, but it's true. Libraries are for everyone. We are not nonpartisan. And so, you know, sometimes it's a pocketbook issue. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to make a political statement. I'm just trying to keep the library, just trying to keep the library with internet, right? Like, you just want internet and books. Like, that could be a thing. And then I'll get off my soapbox.
I think we need hats that say, ask me about the library,
Yes,
and we can wear our badges,
Yeah.
with every ensemble,
and so
and we go
I
around town.
will say I was delighted the friends probably spent the first 40 minutes of their meeting talking about advocacy.
That's great.
Which was really great, and they're very excited about it, and they're like, what is it that we can do? What can we do? And so now, every time something hits across my desk, it goes out to it used to go out to the staff, it used to go out to the board, now it goes out to the staff, it goes out to the board, it goes out to the friends. One of the things I sent out were really nice links to, ALA's and, NYLA's, social media, that all you have to do is go on and share it, right? Share it to your story, share it to your wall. Is that what they call it, a wall? These, like, sharing those things are important.
Somebody told me that decades ago, they used to have letter writing campaigns and they'd sit around the table up in the rotunda and on a certain night, and they'd have paper, you know, stationery and pens, and they say, okay, who are we gonna write to today to advance a certain thing? And it was a regular weekly event. It was the
And here's the
social
thing,
type of event.
if the board is so inclined, I would encourage the board, Elliot, as president, you know, to consider writing a letter to Nick Lalota, saying like, the executive order to cut IMLS directly affects libraries, and in the, you know, like in the scheme of things, it's like what is it, like 0.0003% of the money spent federally. But it does so much. And again, at this meeting we went to today, and I really can't dither on, so somebody tell me to stop. There's like this lack of understanding that everything that libraries do is everything that government on both sides has been asking people to do. We are fiscally responsible. We use shared contracts. We are providing resources to people. When it comes to social services, we're the ones teaching people how to use, how to apply for SNAP, right? Like, we are doing all of the things that everyone is asking us to do, but nobody is funding us. They're taking our money away. And it's like, how can we continue to do all of these things if we're not funded, right? Like, we've hit that, libraries have hit that tipping point where now the conversations that we're gonna be forced to have, which is disconcerting, are things like what happened with Queens Public Library, where they're like, well, we're gonna be closed on Saturdays, right? Like, are we gonna move interlibrary loan from 5 days a week to 2 days a week, right? Which means it's gonna take even longer to get your book. Are we not going to increase the amount of money we put into the digital book collection every year, which means your hold times are gonna go from 3 weeks to 6 weeks? Are we just not gonna fund that collection anymore?
Yeah, but you're
Um,
looking at it from a very partisan type of view, and or at least one-sided type of view. Because the other side is looking at it that libraries are helping to proselytize or foment views that are not acceptable.
Not acceptable to who? though?
Well,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. See, so what, just the way you're saying that we're doing everything that we should do. Other side is looking at saying, no, you're not doing everything that we should do. Some of the things that you're doing are contrary to the way a good portion of America thinks.
I mean, I would say.
So that's, see, you're not gonna convince the people who are already on our side.
Mhm.
And by taking
But
the
it's
tact.
a call of action to the people who are already on our side,
Yeah, but
right?
you already have their vote. That's not,
But it's
Yeah,
not
well, then
about
I thought-
having their vote, it's having them advocate on our behalf. And I would dare say again, libraries are for everyone. Libraries are nonpartisan. I have something to offend everyone in this building.
well, that's a
Whether-
better, that's a better
whether-
tact.
And
yes.
that's the thing, right?
Right,
Like a
yes.
good library has something to offend.
Equally
everyone.
offensive to everybody.
You wanna read a tweet, and we will, get like, if you have a reference question. It's not my job to decide, yes, that fits within my morals, no, it doesn't, it's like
I know,
non-judgmental.
but I'm just
like-
saying, we have to be, if we're trying to win on a point, or trying to continue the funding or whatever it is, you're preaching to government entities that don't care.
Yeah.
That they are winning by starting the conversation, look what we're doing, we're cutting the funding, whether it's schools, whether it's libraries, whether it's museums or social institutions or whatever.
Which is why we need people to say, no, you cannot do this, and that's where
So then-
ultimately libraries have sort of failed in advocating for ourselves for years.
Right,
And
exactly.
so what I am saying is, there is a tremendous amount of bipartisan support for libraries. And so individuals who use libraries and love their libraries, this is the time that those individuals need to speak up and speak out and support libraries and say, hey, we don't support that.
So then that should be the messaging, not something that is gonna be as debatable as we do everything the right way.
Yeah.
Because that's,
I don't think that's what she.
That's
she
not-
I understand,
said.
I'm just saying, but it's prone to. You're inviting an attack, one way or the other, if you
I
make
don't
it.
see it
I
that
don't
way.
know,
I don't know.
I think that the way Kelly presented it in terms of, which is what it should be presented in terms of everything. But the nuts and bolts of where your money is going, this is what we're paying for, and this is what you're gonna have. And if you don't get that money to us, you're not gonna have that. And that's not a debatable point, that's just real life. This is the consequence of there not being money for this. You no longer have internet here.
Yeah.
I mean, you just say that very clearly, simply, and people hopefully will get it, and it doesn't bring in politics, it doesn't bring
I
in
know, it's just,
partisanship, it's just, this is real life, if
Yeah.
this gets cut, we don't have this, we can't provide this anymore,
yeah,
and that's what you need, I think that we need to do.
But I think it's also that a lot of people don't understand that. You're training people how to fill out their SNAP form.
Yeah.
Or you're having, certain
And here's the
classes, or, you know what I mean, like, or. You have some collaboration that people may not understand, so it's important just to advocate for all the things the library does for the community. No matter what side or
Whether
where
you're
you
gonna-
are and
whether
what
you
you're
do
doing.
them or don't
It's-
like them
there's-
or whatever, this is
there's-
stuff
yeah.
that we have.
Well, obviously, it's.
We have a notary.
It's a hard argument to
Right.
make if at the very same time, education is being cut.
Yeah.
Because we're saying, well, gee, you can't cut libraries because we help support education, but if education's also being cut, obviously the message there is, well, that's not too important either. You
And
know,
then,
so
you
that's
know-
the trick, is how do you identify services that we're providing that could be universally understood to be of value? If you don't value libraries, if you don't value education, on what basis do we, providing social services? Obviously, there's not a strong sentiment currently to either maintain or improve social services of whatever kind.
I think we just have to prepare ourselves that this is a reality that is heading our way, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
And we just have to protect ourselves and, the community from that, but there's certain aspects of it that. In spite of how many letters we write, in spite of how many times we're just.
Yeah.
Pounding our feet on the table or, whatever it is.
That doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
mean,
saying
yeah.
that, I'm not saying.
Dare say, right? So again, libraries are a nonpartisan issue. Their libraries have. We offend everyone, right? Like we have that's, one of my favorite library quotes said by somebody smarter than me, a good library has something to offend everyone, right? And so it's in advocacy. And how you reach different parties, you're not gonna, right, we don't live in a world where we can necessarily change people's minds if they think this is it, and but. My advocacy. Messaging can change to meet the person where they are, right? Does that make sense? So if somebody's passionately worried about social services like SNAP and WIC and making sure that people have access to that and applying to that, we can talk to that constituency about how library assists with those things. When we talk about, so if you want to have a conversation about freedom of speech or freedom of information, okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you don't want that book on the shelf. Great, we have a whole policy on that, right? We're not just gonna say, no, we can't have it, and it's a big deal. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about our policy. Let's talk about our recreation forum. We want to work with you on this, right? So there's different tacks and ways, and I'm probably not being terribly eloquent at 10 after 8 on a Wednesday, but there's different messaging for how to speak to different groups about their concerns with regards to the library. And if you go to Spring on the Hill, you'll learn more.
Isn't that during spring break?
When is
It's
it?
in May.
It's May,
Oh.
it's May 19th, it's Tuesday, May 20th, which is the Tuesday after the board meeting. And it's a full day, so I would plan on going up Monday, staying all day Tuesday, coming home first thing Wednesday.
I really advise other trustees to attend. I went last year, and it really was such a riveting, eye-opening opportunity, and presenters, especially the librarian from Virginia. And there's such amazing information. I mean, it's important that you go. It's that more than, you could get another one, you could get more than, a few trustees should go.
And then it counts as your trustee training. But I'm still gonna make you come and only events come out. But it's important. So,
Well, I would say in terms of bringing this piece of our conversation to an end, I mean, I'm not sure we have any consensus as a group as to what the trustees as a group, what role we want to take in the current activities. Now, right now, we have the thing pending at the state level, and we have the thing pending at the federal level, both of which we're being invited, to fill out a form. And if you fill out the form, you get a nice form letter back from Nick Lalota, which he talks about all the great things he's doing, and there you go. If there's some, I guess I need to hear whether the group as a whole would favor taking any other type of action other than the ones that have already been outlined. Cause I'm hearing conflicting position on this, so,
I know, I'm not saying that, and I don't want what I'm saying to be taken as. Opposing what everyone is recommending,
Right.
I'm just saying that.
right,
I think that we need more, and I don't know what that more is, and I don't even know if there is more, whether that necessarily is gonna make a difference.
yeah, well, I'm just, look at, in my, because the director has suggested that I should write a letter, or that the trustee should write a letter. You know, one of our senior trustees here. Is questioning, there's different things that could happen here, I could draft something,
It's no harm in doing it,
okay,
and I gladly sign off on it.
okay.
You draft it, I'll sign it.
And as a matter of fact,
You
one of the
draft it, I'll
things,
sign it.
one of the things that we could do is you write a letter and maybe attach to it. A petition, and maybe we start running that here in the library, everyone who reads a short statement, if you're in favor of this, please sign on the dotted line, so
Right.
at least from a community standpoint, we
Okay.
can stand.
So
together.
what I'm reading from this is that you as a group would support the idea of me and us as a group, me speaking for you as a group. And something that we would do in support of Kelly and the work of the library, a more personal, a more localized appeal that's very specific. That could go to our representatives, both in Albany and in Washington, in a more personal, more directed manner. And if you like what I write and you agree with it, then we'll put it in the mail.
What about if we took out a full page ad in Sag Harbor Express?
Well, I was just saying, what
or
about a letter to
Southampton
the editor
Press?
about
Well,
it?
yeah, it could be an open
Yeah.
letter to the,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying something that is published,
That's another way to do it.
like
Yeah.
that, you know.
I think you could do both. I think you could write, I do think you should send a letter to, Nick Lalota.
Mhm.
But maybe that letter could be part of that.
And then we could also CC the Sag Harbor Express.
Okay,
And then hopefully the Sag Harbor Express will pick it up in the letters to the editor.
This, we're
Sounds
writing
good.
this letter to you, we're asking for your assistance. You know, you wanna get through, I wanna know what you're gonna do about it.
right, and we could use Dolly Parton.
And Dolly.
Exactly,
And Dolly.
Is that
yes.
scale? Is that how little she
Yes.
is?
Tiny.
I keep looking at her. like,
Also,
Wait, she's
That's like
spoken for.
quarters.
she's my same height.
But there's,
She's got my badge. on.
After the meeting, we can Google how tall is Dolly Parton and check it.
No, but
Okay.
back to business. I mean, it's interesting how the Friends picked this up and ran with it, the advocacy, right? And it seems like here we're, stumbling. I mean, it should be quite obvious and evident. That's why we're here as trustees.
Yeah.
That's why we chose to run for this
Right.
position, because we support and advocate for the work of library.
Right.
So,
So it's a question of finding the best ways of doing that,
yes.
beyond the ones that, I mean, we fill out various forms that were provided to us by other organizations that are advocacy organizations. We do something directly from John Germain Library and this board
Yeah.
that goes to officials, and it also goes to the local papers and so forth. That seems to be, that would be a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
And if somebody wants to, if people, have ideas for a more, a public, some kind of public event, you mentioned that idea, at Library Week, would be a good time to highlight this. Great, we could talk about that even now in what we're doing. We say, and we are going to have such and such during Library Week to highlight these issues within the community.
You wanna take it a step further?
Outreach.
Let's- Maybe we get together with all the other East End libraries or
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah.
we buy commercial.
I'll talk to the, I'll talk
Say
to.
maybe a 30-second bit, whatever it is, and, we put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
I was once the voice of East End Libraries on WLNG. Do you remember when we ran the radio ad during COVID?
Yeah, but here we give you
Yeah.
FaceTime on News 12, whatever it is, I think
but-
something like that is very effective.
What, you could discuss that with the folks.
I was gonna
at the
say
group
maybe-
Today, your
Yeah.
group tomorrow.
I do
That
have
it-
my group
Obviously,
tomorrow.
it'd be even better if it were the island,
Sure.
because there's always the danger if it's the East End, that it's gonna be perceived as an
Right,
illegal.
so, well, that's, maybe it's all better if it is News 12 or
Yeah.
something. along
Yeah.
those lines.
We also have, just something to think about. The outreach committee is meeting next Wednesday. It might be something we could also discuss at outreach, if that, we're
Good idea.
comfortable with that.
And Kelly,
Okay.
even if it's not anything that's paid for, there's no reason that we couldn't put together something and release it on social media.
Yeah.
And see if that goes.
Like I said, I was sort of hoping to see something from the Suffolk Cooperative Library System, because we do have a marketing team there, person. Well, he's a team, I think he's got somebody who works with him as well. Just because I like when our message matches countywide. And then also, and I say this with all love and affection for ALA and NYLA, because, you know, they're my people. The stuff that they posted was very wordy.
Oh, it's, yes.
And so I, you know, I read it because I'm a librarian, you all read it because you're library trustees,
No,
but
we
I was
don't.
hoping
I
for
know.
something. I was hoping for something a little punchier.
Yeah.
Um,
I
gotta make-
listed all
It has
those
to be
things
simple
yesterday.
and has
Right.
stories and but it's
Exactly.
very wordy.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
You can't read it in
We
30
need
seconds
something
or
more
less.
along the lines of this.
But
know,
you
we need
do have
something
to,
that's catchy,
you
that's
you may have
upbeat,
to vet
positive,
this with
Yeah.
some of these
not
other people,
political, not
because
wordy.
something
No,
that
just
we
nuts
say
and bolts
may
of what the
negatively
results
impact
are of
everybody
cuts.
else.
Yeah.
You know, but I would not be opposed to that. I don't care. It's $10,000, $20,000, whatever it
It
is.
sounds like that's something the outreach committee can really work on.
yeah. So I think to wrap this up, just because, you know, well, it was like it was on the agenda, but it wasn't on the
Yes.
agenda. We've
Yeah,
strayed.
but it's worth
But
thinking.
and it is
Yeah.
worth talking about,
Yeah.
but I think where we can leave it tonight is, we'll work on something for social media, even if just tonight, before I leave, I will, repost into our stories, the ALA, the NYLA. I'll probably also share the Andy Cohen video because it's just such a great,
I have a
Video.
direct link on my Facebook,
I'll pull it
that
from
other
you.
one, it's a repost of a repost, so
Yeah.
like his mouth is moving and the language is
Yeah.
all off.
I will, so, are you friends with us on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will, when I log in, I'll just pull it from yours and then shoot it out, and then Elliot can work on a letter,
Mhm.
between, you know, today and maybe Friday.
Mhm.
If there's any specifics you need, let me know.
Okay,
And then we can sort of take it from there. Does everybody feel good about that plan? I think most of what we're gonna talk about at the Suffolk Library Directors Meeting tomorrow is probably going to be advocacy based. So if there's anything with regards to that to bring back, I will make sure that, I put all of that in an email to you.
Do you think there's unanimity among the,
I think it's hard. I don't wanna speak for my colleagues, in a meeting where, it's recorded and it's on the internet till the end of time. But, I think when you look at Long Island,
okay,
as an island, I think that there are a lot of differing opinions. I think all libraries and all trustees are on the same page. But how they get their message out into their communities in the best way possible may take many different shapes and forms. So while I think we are very fortunate in our community that we can be a little more regressive and maybe aggressive, I think that there are other areas of Long Island who need to think about it and perhaps take a softer hand to how they go about
You have to
things.
address the characteristics of the trait of their community.
Yeah.
And they're unique, so you have to speak to your people in the language that.
Well, I think people have to know personally what they're gonna lose, what their family is gonna lose, what the individual is gonna lose. So that people don't just think, oh, this is just bureaucracy that's being cut. You know, they wanna know like what programming, what is really going to, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because if you just say advocacy, I don't think people are gonna
Right.
connect to that in a meaningful
but it's
way.
it's hard when you compare it with people who are losing food benefits, health benefits, shelter. And things of that nature, and you say, well, you know, how does that compare with library? You say, well, the library, you know, feeds your soul, you know, and your, you know.
You know, I
mental
think
aspect.
you need to think about it in terms of what's gonna affect you directly, and where I think Queens was very smart is when they were cut, they were like, we have to close on Saturdays, and that hit people
Mhm.
where it hurt. They were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, so it's really having a conversation about E-rate, right? Because that is money that's used for high-speed internet. So like now. And we're a small library and we get, what did I say, between $6,000 and $8,000 in E-rate money, right? We're a small library. A giant library gets like 3 times that amount, right? And to find that in your budget can be difficult. Like finding that in your budget is the difference of, you know, when we talk about ebooks, right? Are we going, for a while, we were increasing money into the countywide ebooks at 15%, right? This last time we only did 10%. Now we're not getting this E-rate money. We might not increase it at all. We might increase it only 2%, but what's gonna happen? The number of books you're gonna be allowed to have on hold is gonna go from 5 to 3. The wait time is gonna go from 3 weeks to 6 weeks or 12 weeks. The number of items you're gonna be allowed to have checked out is gonna go from 7 to 4. You know, with regards to physical books in the collection, maybe that's where libraries decide to
So
cut it,
maybe
make
that's
up
a good way
where
to go,
maybe they
though.
cut
Maybe
programs.
The Queens, that action that they took, it's gonna have, you say, okay,
It's a
great.
ripple
Maybe
effect.
it's, maybe it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's a good message because that's going to affect people. I said, well, how come I don't have access on Saturday? How come I don't have audiobooks? How come, I've been waiting for this particular well, that's because of this.
Yeah, well, that's the
So
most important thing to
that-
make the connection.
If you're
People,
talking
because they
about
don't
the
get
most
it.
impactful way to deal with something like that. You know, then maybe that has to be considered also. Because eventually, we're going to have to make that same decision, because I can guarantee you that. Our internet thing is gonna get cut, and then do we say, all right, well, we have the cash, we can fund that, we can weather that storm?
Or
do we say, maybe not?
well, and here's the thing, we have the cash, we can weather that storm. We're also replacing our HVAC system, right? Which is a huge expense out of our reserves. That also includes a very expensive planting plan that was approved by the village, which is like 127 mature magnolia trees, right? Which is not cheap. So
Yeah, but that's all.
no, I know, but when you say,
can't.
well, we can eat that, well, no. we
I
can't.
know, but it's something that we may not want to subsidize.
Yeah.
So that the message becomes more clear. And that these actions have consequences. Votes have consequences, elections have consequences. It sounds cliche, but that's where it is. So if our funding is cut, we just can't say, oh, well, we can easily make it up one way or another. No, we can't.
So these are important things, but I feel like we're keep circling.
we are.
we're circling.
Alright.
As much as it's important to talk about, I think we should
We can move on,
move on.
all right.
Wow.
So we can move on to the easy thing. I do need Megan and Elliot and Diane to stay after and sign their name 154 times. And give me their social security. We have. One of the things that Al Coster had recommended when last he was here is to have 3 trustees as signers instead of just 2. In case, one of you goes to Spring on the Hill and loves Albany so much you decide to stay. Albany in the spring, it's nice, Albany in the winter. So basically, long and short of it is, in order for us to put all the signers on all the accounts, we need a motion to approve all of the signers on the accounts. So the signers would be Kelly Harris, Elliot Soroka, Megan Curran Schmidt, and Diane Degger. And they would be signers on the Dime account, the First National of Long Island account, and the Morgan Stanley account.
I so move.
I second.
Does this mean that there has to be, they all have to sign off on something or?
No, it's just, I need any combination of,
That's fine.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
Robin beat you to it, I think.
Oh, good.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
Any extension?
So it passes.
Motion passes. Okay.
Period for public expression.
I'll just say that I was in Kleckman's this week and I was wearing my John Germain hat. And a man came up to me and said, do you work at the library? And I said, no, well, I'm a trustee. And he said, I think you guys are doing a fabulous job. And he was an ex-trustee.
what was
I
it?
can only remember his name, Nick?
Nick-
Oh, wait,
Nick
it's
Dole.
like a kid.
Yeah, like a
yeah,
college
yeah.
age student?
No, like my age.
Nick Gonzalo.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
He asked about you and he asked if
Yeah.
Ann was still on the board.
Yeah.
So,
Didn't ask
but
about me?
Oh my
he was, he had
goodness.
his chicken. He was going. I don't know, it was lunchtime.
Pick me, oh my goodness.
Anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
Oh, yeah.
Long time
You're
trustee.
wearing a winter
Yeah.
hat or your,
My baseball hat.
I wear my winter hat, I wear no.
I don't have a
Yeah.
winter hat, so.
He was a two-time board president during the very tail end of the rec court.
It's the beginning of my turn,
Yeah.
We're,
Great guy.
we're gonna redo ball caps and then we'll redo the spell caps in the fall.
And you're
It
gonna
will
get
be like
the
ball
mannequin
caps.
with the swag?
I'm gonna ask if, Hampton Library wants to give us their mannequin. I'm gonna ask them for it, and be like, you're not still using that mannequin, are you?
We have
It's Still
Dolly.
wearing
I
my
don't know.
color.
You can dress Dolly up.
Yeah.
Put a t-shirt on or hat.
Poor dog.
Poor Dolly.
I love
Dolly's
Dolly.
good.
Now,
I took my kid to Dollywood. His favorite thing was the Dolly Parton experience and like you go in and there's like this guitar and Dolly shows up in the video. And his favorite song is Jolene, which is just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
like we had to walk through so he could watch Dolly. 47 times.
She's a big supporter of education.
And like.
Yeah.
She's all right.
So, Michael, you had said you've had no need for an executive session. Is there any other issues that have arisen that would require one? Well, then I would look for a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn at
Stan's motion.
8:28.
Our second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Me.
Dolly.
And it passes. We are adjourned.